back, everyone, to Worlds 2024 for the quarterfinals in beautiful Paris. Bienvenue à Paris. This was when you wore the crown ages ago. Perhaps you would end up in the guillotine. Now, the same goes for our teams. 8 teams come into Paris. Only 2 will escape the Bastille and head on to London. LNG and Weibo today. I took inspiration from the Olympics.
Such an exciting, happy time.
What can I say? My name is Shox and I'm joined by Chronicler and Emily and Jat because I feel like it does show what we have here. This is going to be a fiery arena and you have to step up or you'll be left in the dust.
Yeah, as you can tell, we're going to have the French broadcast behind us the whole time, which for me is one of my favorite environments in esports. So I've been to a few big events here. We've had the 2015 World Groups, but more importantly, 2018 MSI Finals and 2019 World Finals in Paris. And I do not mean to diminish other crowds around the world, but Paris crowds are different.
Yeah, they are.
Paris crowds are different. The energy that it brings and just the memories and the attachments I have. Really quickly, like my very first thing in casting was an online tournament in 2012 called Kings of Europe, organized by Chips and Noir, who are still here today casting. So there's been this, I have this personal cool connection with Paris, and I just cannot wait for these quarterfinals and semifinals to happen.
I have such a cool connection too. 2019 was awesome. Aside from the result of the best of 5, no. But you're totally right. Big shout out to OTP and the French crew for everything they're going to put on stage here. And let's take a look at our bracket. We're going to see the first 2 matches in these first 2 days.
This is a great draw. Obviously, the LPL team kill is a bit unfortunate, but with 4 teams in, that was always going to happen.
Yeah.
But we have Humble Life in the same position that T1 was in last time around. We get TES versus T1. And then I do think that what we will end up with in finals will end up being a banger as well.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is that HLE has the chance to do potentially what T1 did last year and also, like, we could end up with only 1 LPL team from the match that's about to be played, depending on how these quarterfinals match.
What's our gut telling us? Because of course the LPL has been wanting to get back to that World Championship title for a few years now, and the odds seemed stacked in their favor last year, and still they couldn't pull it off. Jat, what's your feeling?
Yeah, so you're asking me my gut feeling?
Yes.
It's that we're in for a down year of Worlds. Just hear me out.
What does that mean?
We've had 2 incredible, unpredictable, unbelievable storylines with DRX and then T1 winning
Don't
for the
say
first time
that!
in 7 years.
Don't say
Like,
that!
how could anything possibly top the last 2 years? How could anything top the last 2 years?
Wait, but how am I supposed to react? So she would just not play him?
What?
No, we should. I'm just like, it's been so incredible.
Really, what Jad is doing here is he's lowering expectations.
So that
when it hits.
The last 2 years cannot be the standard.
Not definitely. How could it ever be as crazy?
There you go.
Exactly. I got it now. It's broadcast strat, guys. Hey, but what has already been crazy and I think very satisfying so far has been the meta. It's been quite open. We've seen different approaches, and historically here in the best of 5s is where that takes the teams turn another leaf again. So is there anyone who wants to sell me on a champion that I should be rating higher?
I'm going to sell you on a champion, and I just snuck a peek at a graphic that I think was supposed to surprise me, but we're going to get there. It's Silas, and it's because when I...
That's terrifying.
This is
have you been working out?
I actually have been.
Wow.
So this
You
was
look
taken
buff.
earlier today after I got a pump at the gym, but it's more so because the current meta has so many strong ultimates just in the meta champions that I think Silas is somewhat blind pickable, and some of the AD carry picks that would have been pushing him out of mid lane are absent from the current meta. He's only been played a little bit. 6-0 is his Swiss record at Worlds. That's only an 11.5% overall presence throughout the entire World Championship, but I think that's going to go way up based on the 6 games I've seen.
Also has a lot of incredible Silas players, right? Zika won his Worlds off of it. We saw Knight do incredible as well.
Faker Blind picked it, so that's all I need to know, that this champion is good, to be completely honest. Who's going next? Emily, do you have something to sell me?
Xin Zhao.
All right.
I think, so he received a few small buffs on this patch, but the big thing for me is with AP junglers now being kind of, whoa! That's actually not terrible.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
That's really well done.
Your bags look so good in
I know,
those.
right? I think we have a lot of junglers left that like to make the decision of, oh, I want to affect my lanes early. If we want to do early skirmishes, he's deceptively tanky once he gets his ultimate. And I just think we have so many junglers who still really like to affect their lanes, and Xin Zhao is perfect for that. He also fits in a variety of compositions, so you can build around him in multiple different ways.
You sold?
I'm sold. Yeah.
Are you?
I mean, I didn't like it.
I'm very easily convinced. So
Yeah.
that's
Me too.
that might
I'm
be on
also.
me.
But I want to know what they're gonna do with you. Who do you have?
Okay, because obviously this was okay, right? But I'm going to sell you on something much better. And given the previous 2 segments, I'm a little worried about what's about to be on the screen. It's Gragas.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Okay.
Let's
Wow.
go.
What are you afraid of?
Oh, there we go.
Wait, your mustache fits right in. All they have to
No.
do is dye it.
They actually did. I'm pretty sure that's the real one. So Gragas to me is a
The
pick
mustache.
that really, given what we've seen so far in terms of blind lane top, needs to rise in priority. The people want a blind pick top laner, and that has been Jax. And the matchup, I'm telling you, is unplayable. And one of the biggest things with Gragas is we're going to see in a lot of these fights, dive is insanely popular right now. Having a champion like Gragas that can split up a fight, similarly, honestly, to what Xin Zhao does, gives you so much more time to play against these dive comps which have come to dictate the meta.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me is that Gragas pick in particular in the T1 game was really inspired.
Yeah.
It was great to watch, and it absolutely separated the combination, so you can just split up fights into smaller skirmishes and clean up.
And I think the reason we're having this discussion, for those of you who are a little bit confused, is the largest shift in the meta that we saw last year was the time between the end of Swiss stage and the start of the quarterfinals. I mean, even looking in today, LNG, they've had so much time off to cook and actually practice new things that this is the biggest opportunity for a meta evolution.
Or perhaps to overcook. If you leave your stew boiling for 2 weeks,
This
it
is
might not
true.
be good.
This is
Ugh.
true.
Who knows?
The hotel this morning did have expired protein shakes in the fridge, so you never know when things wait too long.
That's why I have a tummy ache. Anyways, let's
Good
check
to
in
know.
on how you're doing on your pick'ems, powered by AWS. I hope this can also serve as a reminder that you still have to lock them in. Let's flip through a couple of these. We had 0 pentakills, by the way, still. That is
Crazy.
sad.
Look at there, Scout and GALA sitting on the top of the KDAs. This one, Herbie, wow, have there not been any penta kills?
84,
Yeah.
I was
82
going for a
infernals,
lot.
82 infernals already? That's
Yeah.
madness.
Wow.
And on that last one, you see the Silas at
It is.
100%
It's snuck into
win.
100%. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah.
As said, don't forget to lock in your pick'ems for the quarterfinals. You still have a little bit of time, about 22 minutes.
I forgot.
think. You forgot again.
Wait, you actually
I
did?
made the joke that I forgot in rehearsal, and then I
did.
actually forgot.
I think
Come
we have
on,
a
man.
content piece later.
It's
You'll
gonna
have like
auto
2
pick for you
minutes.
now.
Whatever.
Yeah. So, Jad already started and talking about kind of the last couple of years, so I think we've been absolutely spoiled, right? I think even if you go back to kind of the EDG result, a lot of people
Yeah.
hadn't thought that they could win the World Championship in that year. Then we had the DRX run, we had the T1 run, and even though I'm a little sad that there's no EU teams here, usually this is where the insane stories develop. So, Emily, do you want to
Yeah.
defend the team or lay it out for me?
All right. The TES glazing will continue until I'm going to go with top esports. There are so many players that I really love on this team. As you see, Mako, Jackie Love, and Tien all vying to try to get back. They're all world champion winners already. And then 369 and Cream coming over. These are just staple players of the LPL. Mako vying to be potentially the best support to have ever played the game. Another world championship, I think, would cement that for him in a lot of people's minds if he's not there already. And I just really love this TES team, guys. They can be so smart. Obviously, the flip side of that is that sometimes they can be so dumb.
Yes, and I think that's why, because I feel like you're the only person who picked an LPL team here, and that's the one you're going with. Can you live with that decision knowing that they are hot and cold?
I can live with that decision, yes, because I've watched this team, and I'm a masochist. I'm a KT fan. I'm used
I was
to
going to go
being
there, but
disappointed.
Yeah, I get it. Chronicler, what do you have for us?
you know I got to go for the final Rocks Tiger. And that sentence alone, I think, will hurt a lot of people very deeply. I got to talk about Peanut. I think the rest of Humble Life have an incredible story as well. But this player, to me, has shown us what it means to be one of the best junglers of all time. He has excelled in a carry role. He's excelled now, and for years has been one of the most decorated shot callers and early game junglers in the LCK. This guy has won everything there is to win, except that World's trophy.
Wow.
And Humble Life, I think, have already shown how clutch they can be, and how fitting would it be if Peanut finally lifts that trophy
I
here
love
this
it,
Worlds.
but do you remember what happened last year?
Yes, I do.
Tell us,
Yes,
tell
I do.
us.
Okay, so if you don't remember, Gen G looked great. They were 3-0, And then they went down 2-0 to BLG, which, okay, whatever, you know, you lose. Then they went to 2-2, and then they lost. And it's way worse.
And it was Peanut's fault.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'm going to talk about Gen G. They've exiled Peanut to the other side of the LCK. I'm talking about Chovy, and this guy has been considered the best player in the world for a while. For a time, he was the best player who hadn't won an LCK split. Then he won 4 LCK splits in a row. Then he was the best player to never win internationally, and this year he won MSI. And this year at the World Championship, he's been considered the best player to never win a World Championship, and I can't wait for that to continue as FlyQuest takes them down. On Sunday will be my favorite World storyline.
She's trying to step on you with the Gen G. I've been informed that in comparison to rehearsal, we actually have loads of time. So if there's any important storyline that you do want to highlight, this is the time. I love that you, I don't want to say snuck in FlyQuest there. I think everybody's looking at that match Sunday, of course. It's a couple of days away. Would it be the biggest David and Goliath upset we have ever seen?
I think it would be very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
I would argue
I think it would have to be.
Yeah. I mean, that
It's a first seed.
It does a disservice to some of the other Giga upsets we've seen in the past, but I think so.
Well,
Yeah.
for me, the biggest thing is that Gen G, even for all their flaws, is an extremely dependable team. There are teams in the LCK who, you know, if they made it, I think T1 is a really good example of a team that it can be quite volatile in how they look on a given day. But we have seen with Gen G over the course of this year how insanely consistent they've been. So if FlyQuest do get the upset, that would be absolutely mind-boggling.
So how do you explain the summer finals?
Because Humble Life, on that day, I think had an incredible series, a really good read, and looking at the two series together, like Gen G in that first series, particularly the bot lane, played the way that they did all summer. And then I think that not only did Viper have an incredible day of the finals, but additionally, Peanut played an absolutely mind-boggling series, and Zika actually stood up to Chovy, which is why he ended up getting the finals MVP.
I was baiting you, but you went in and you gave me an analytical breakdown. It's great. I love it.
Do we still have time?
I think we're on time, but you can say it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I have this weird thing with Xiahu,
Oh, that sounds
who's playing the series
illustrious.
today,
Yeah.
because
This weird
cumulatively
thing.
his stats are incredible.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he has the second most international wins of any player, second only to Faker. He's won MSI 3 times in 2 different roles. He's won an LPL MVP. He's been LPL first team 3 times. He has 5 LPL titles. He's been to Worlds 8 times, and he hasn't won that World Final. But if he had a World Final win, that overall resume would make you think he's the second best player of all time. But like, he's not the second best player of all time. He's this walking contradiction.
It's difficult.
But it's incredible that we get to see him yet again today.
It is, and we have him in an incredible mid lane matchup. Thank you so much for teeing it up so perfectly, because our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz is Scout versus Xiahu.
Today, 2 of our sports icons face off in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Jumps into the back line, but isolated is hung. He has to flush away, but Scout brings them together. BLG don't know what just hit them.
Xiahu and Scout, 2 legends that have been battling it out not only in the LPL, but on the world stage as well.
The Dark binding, so much damage, he flashes, but it's not enough. And that is the kill picked up here from Xiahu. Disaster strikes for DK.
This tournament, they have proven themselves yet again. Yet today, only one LPL legend will be able to move on.
Hello everyone, I'm Laure and I'm joined by Wendy, today LPL host and translator here at Worlds. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm happy to be here.
It's the first time we do an interview like this, but there's so much to talk about. It's an LPL versus LPL matchup, and we have an important player to celebrate today in the likes of Xiahu, because during these Worlds, he could reach a lot of milestones. He could today become the player with the second most wins and the second most games, right behind Deft, actually. So I wanted to ask you, as an LPL expert, what does Xiahu's success means to you throughout the years, and the fact that we keep on seeing him at the highest level?
Definitely, we feel so proud that we have Xiahu as an LPL player and always representing LPL in all the international tournaments. And also, I feel like Xiahu can always really maintain a very high level performance, like for so many years. And in between, he switched as a top laner and now as a mid laner to be able to qualify to World Championship and so many MSIs as well. So I really feel like he's a player that really hold the LPL spirit, because I still remember a couple of years ago, he shared like I want to tell to all the rookies that once you become a pro player, you only have one goal, the championship. And I believe Xiahu is still like running towards the World Championship because he has so many LPL titles, MSI titles, and the one thing he left is the World Championship. And definitely together with this new WBG roster, they're going to try their best for this win.
It's crazy because he's been present in so many different rosters, so many different teams, even in different roles, as you say. It's role swapping to top lane and then coming back to mid lane. Would you describe him as a role model, maybe for younger players or LPL fans watching League of Legends?
Yeah, definitely, because we can really see the tenacity inside Xiahu because he can always try his best to like put into practice, all the games on stage, and also sometimes he'll be the leader for the whole team because he can really hype up the whole team to help the team to build a very good vibe, to build a very good morale, to help the team a lot, like inside the game and also outside the game as a big bro for the team.
As an expert and someone who's been talking to him for years, what would you qualify as the biggest evolution from Xiahu, from the moment you started interviewing him to today and the player he became?
I feel like Xiahu is like keep growing as a pro player because maybe, for example, like previously some people like kind of blame him, like he cannot like play some champions like Yune is so good, but for this World Championship, you can see they got the B1 pick for his Yune, and his Yune can really have so many good plays as well. So I feel like he's just keep practicing, like try to have an even wider champion pool to help the teammates, and he can play like all the different champions so well to have the Lucian to carry the game and also to have so many utility champions to help the team. So I really feel like Xiahu, as a pro player, he actually have so many progress through this whole year.
And even more specifically with the matchup that we have today, Scout versus Xiahu, it's a matchup for ages. They played each other 100 times. It's going to be the 101 time actually that they play each other on the world stage today. What does this matchup mean to you?
And I also want to mention, like, actually WBG and the LNG, they got a long history. They face against each other in both the spring playoff, the summer playoff, regional qualifier. And for so many best of fives, they just played till the very last game, the 5th game. So it's and they have the jungler switch between the teams, so they're very familiar with each other. And also Scout are definitely a legendary player as well. So I'm really looking forward to see how they're going to perform here at World Championship. And also, it's going to be the LPL time.
LPL time. I'm so ready for it. And they're always facing each other in important matches, and they're going to take the fight up until the end. That's the expectation here. Wendy, thank you so much for a lovely interview and insights. And we'll see each other later for the interview on stage. And guys, back to you.
Thank you so much. Great insight from Wendy there to see if the little spring tiger can become the big world's
giant tiger?
Leopard?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just love the rivalry between the two players. I mean, if you include Demacia Cup, it's 58 wins to Xiahu, 54 wins to Scout.
Oof.
Like, that's a long-time rivalry.
It's sure. And shout out to Naimira. He asked who are the junglers getting in the divorce and who's getting the best bet. It's very interesting. But looking ahead even more to this series between LNG and Weibo, at these international tournaments, unfortunately for the LPL, or because they always all qualify, we have a lot of team kills, Emily.
Yeah, so I wanted to cover a little bit on LPL team kills because we've had 2 massive upsets when the LPL teams have gone up against each other. TES versus Suning in 2020. And then just last year, Weibo Gaming narrowly taking out BLG. I actually think Wendy touched upon why a lot of these matchups tend to be so close. The LPL regional qualifier and playoff brackets are such massive gauntlets that you have to go through. You are going to become very familiar with your opponents, and you can see a lot of the time LPL teams will sometimes play a little bit faster and looser against teams that they're really, really familiar with. These 2 teams that we are about to see today in LNG and Weibo are both intimately familiar with each other.
It's that volatility that makes it really hard to call as well going into this series. Because last year, as mentioned, BLG was the heavy favorites, and all it took was Tarzan time traveling back to 2018 to make that one happen.
It's true. And Weibo, I mean, we'll get to if you feel like Weibo is favored in these best of 5, but we just have to remind people of Weibo being underestimated kind of the last 2 years at international tournaments, and last year where they really opened the eyes, and I think people will have revisionist history because the finals didn't go their way at all. But they do these miracle runs. They did it again in the LPL in summer, and they did it last year at Worlds. Of course, the Shy isn't there, but you know, they've got plenty of ammo.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about how the junglers from these teams swapped, right? Breathe and Tarzan coming onto this roster. I also think with the LNG matchup specifically, Weibo does one thing really well, and it's disrupt LNG's early game, right? This can be a very volatile team, which sometimes means that people will be like, well, I don't know if I can believe in Weibo because they're going to throw a lot of stuff out there. But in this specific matchup, it's so close. And I actually think a lot of the stuff they can do early to disrupt what LNG want to do, you've seen in their prior match history.
Yeah, and I mean, we can just pull it up, right? They played right after the LPL finals. They played this regional qualifier game like the next day, and you could definitely look at that and say, oh, actually, this is how good these teams are.
The two series also couldn't be further apart, right?
Exactly.
Like in how they looked, how they felt, and I'm just gonna give a bit of a spoiler. I'm a Weibo believer, right?
You're a Weibo?
Yeah, I think this team is gonna bring the magic again today. And that first series, more importantly, is what I expect it will be like today. If you remember that graphic of LPL team kills, one was a 2-0, which isn't even a thing anymore. The rest all went to multiple games.
Can I get a specifics? What is it about that best of 5 and their play that made you believe in them so hard?
Well, okay, it wasn't the regional qualifier, it was the fact that they played finals, then obviously had a really rough go, and then still had the tenacity to beat out JDG to get here.
Who stepped up? Why were they so good?
Xiahu stepped up.
I mean, it's going to Xiahu.
Yeah. So I think, like, in order for Weibo to win, Xiahu and Crisp, the two of them, absolutely have to step up. I also think we've seen insane performances from Breathe as well, especially on the Gnar, like, more recently. But I think when I'm looking at, like, okay, who stepped up when this team was struggling, because both LNG and Weibo actually had some really poor performances this year and have overcome that as teams to now face each other on the world stage.
Also, in terms of LNG, there is that trap, perhaps, right, Jat? Because they were the first team to qualify out of Swiss. They had 2 weeks of downtime.
They did.
Scout also commented on it and saying, you know, maybe I would have liked to drop another game because you're in the dark.
It is tricky. They played 4 games, and it was so long ago. If we look at last year, Gen G and JDG were the two 3-0 advancements into the quarterfinals. Gen G lost in quarters. JDG lost in semis. So, yes, it's nice to make it to the quarterfinals early, but it may not actually be the greatest thing.
Yeah, and this is a quote. I was going to say a quote from Scout with Ashley Kang. He was saying it there, and teams have fallen to it. But what do you think of their meta read, Emily, and what do you kind of take from what they showed in the Swiss stage?
Scout's hair meta, maybe not good. But yeah, let's take a look at some of their drafts, because I think when LNG came in here, their draft was a little bit, let's just say, dated. It seemed like they were drafting a little bit on the prior patch, as you can see, you know, the Tristana composition up there. But then it's all good, because next time we get this cool dive composition with the Yone, with the Nocturne, and the Ashe to support that. The thing that I really loved from this team actually was pulling out the Camille Galio comp alongside the Kai'Sa. This is a team that really loves red side. Camille and Yone are actually two champions that we've seen Zika and Scout both pull out in LPL. They're very comfortable with a lot of these picks. So I think they're going to want red side, and they're going to want to find these picks that they're super comfortable on.
I'm also seeing, both in those drafts and the meta at large, a very strong pivot towards dive. And if GALA gets to play Kai'Sa, I know we haven't really talked about him as much, but that's very scary to go up against, because I think this guy's Kai'Sa has shown so many times, going way back to, what, like 2021 MSI, how incredibly dangerous he can be.
It is, and I feel like at Worlds he has been plagued by that whole, oh, can you do it at Worlds as good as you can do it domestically in the LPL? And somehow I feel like that is a big theme for this matchup specifically, right? When we look at Xiahu as well, and the fact that it's a team kill and they know each other better should bring out the best in them. But Jat, what do you think about the road that the teams travel to get here?
I think quarterfinals in group stage, but even more so in Swiss stage format, are so interesting, because technically the sins of your past have been forgiven and it's a clean slate. But we have to look at like what actually happened to get them here. And Weibo specifically, they were 1 game away from elimination against Fnatic, and then again against D+. And they are actually 4-0 in those elimination games, but they absolutely had to clutch up, and it goes to show like how very, very close they were to not even being in this World Championship anymore if they lost any one of those 4 games.
I think it shows the volatility that we were talking about, which can be a strength and a weakness. But the more impressive thing for me for Weibo at this tournament specifically has been how they have been able to adjust in a lot of these series. We saw them play a lot more controlled against DK in particular after dropping that first game. I loved the Morgana that they ended up bringing out. That was really fun, and it looked like something that Tarzan was comfortable on. So this is the coin, the 2 sides of the coin for Weibo, right?
Yeah.
I want you to cast your mind back to 2022 and 2021, because both winners of those 2 tournaments went all the way in terms of games, right? ADG played 5-game series in quarters, 5-game series in semis, and then when it came to that final game in the finals, like we've been here many times before, and DRX took play-ins to that as well.
That's true.
And that's the strange thing about this. Like, as good as LNG looked with their meta read in their first 4 games, they've only played red side games. That's how crazy it is, because they were in a low pool, so they never had side select, and they were always on red side. Whereas Weibo have actually had that chance to prove their adaptability, as Emily pointed out.
Oh my God. I just got a sneak peek.
Real?
I want you to see it as well. Our fans, they voted in the MasterCard fan prediction of the day, and whilst I feel my desk kind of hovering towards Weibo, the fans are absolutely ruthless.
Wow.
What?
Okay,
That is
so
really,
what's going on?
Really one-sided.
I cast T1, and I've not seen these level of percentages of them.
Holy.
That's insane. That's not that.
And look at their accuracy, 86%. Is this the one where they drop the ball? What do you think?
No.
I think they do. I'm a believer.
Okay.
I think that given what we've seen, this is going to be a messy series that is going to go the distance, and being tried and tested in these extremely high-pressure situations is going to be the difference maker for Weibo.
I see. Away, bro.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think I'm surrounded by Weibros. I'm going LNG.
Okay.
Even though I think I already laid out how Weibo can be LNG, disrupting the early game, kind of making them work for it instead of getting laning leads they want to go into team fights. I think LNG have still looked like the stronger team, and I also think it's going to take some massive step-up performances from what we've seen from them at this tournament, from Xiahu and Crisp, in order to defeat LNG.
So I do actually completely agree that LNG has looked better. But I also think that they looked better because the other team was drafting 6 patches ago. When they played against BLG, BLG gave them Yone, Nocturne, Rumble on the red side, which then became the tournament meta. When they played against DK, DK was running like double AP with Mage mid, Mage bot, and a bunch of tanks, right? Like, yes, they did look good in those games, but Weibo's adaptability, I think, is going to prevent LNG from getting large draft advantages. And then we're going back to this massive rivalry, this LPL flip, this Scout versus Xiahu, 58 and 54 all time. And I just have this feeling that based on the run that Weibo was able to make last year with mostly the same roster, I think they're going to be able to do that again.
Above all else, I want to take a cue from something that I believe Xiahu said in the teaser today, which is, this is an LPL versus LPL matchup. We know each other so well. The players on both of these teams, again, they used to have the opposing jungler.
Yes.
Let's make it fun. And I think above all else, LPL team kill, I want to see volatility, I want to see fighting, I want it to be fun.
It should be, and I think more often than not when it comes to this is what we see. I think the added context also of the fact that we had this 2-week hiatus for LNG, the fact that they probably know some scrim info here and there that could just push the meta ahead. And I feel like we might get a lot revealed here in terms of how the tournament progresses.
We're going to see some scrim pockets revealed. We're going to try and be able to track who is scrimming who as this weekend progresses, because you're always trying to hide your strats from the other side of the bracket. But the deeper this series go, the more that's going to be revealed. And 4 to 5 games is definitely what I'm expecting today.
I hope so indeed. We are so happy to be back here in Paris. And of course, 8 teams are going to step on stage here, but only 2 will at the end of these 2 weeks head on to London. We have an LPL team kill today, and the LPL has that big mission to come out on top. There's one Lone Ranger from the LCS in that bracket, and the quarterfinals start right now. Woo!
Paris. Ville, lumière. C'est chez moi, ici. C'est ici que le destin de 8 équipes sera décidé au cours des 4 prochains jours. Et ce que le futur nous réserve, nous devons attendre pour le découvrir.
去年我们打李宁的时候，打野还是他的，我们打野是Weiwei，现在我们两边打野都已经互换了，感觉我们得把Weiwei赢下来，不然的话他应该会太开心了。
就刚结束那段时间，就感觉非常遗憾，然后可惜吧，然后就感觉，我就希望弥补去年的遗憾吧。
上一次自己来巴黎是9年前在 T1 的时候吧，也成长了很多，然后就来证明自己。
LNG are taking the fight and BLG don't know what just hit them. Scout is this team, Scout is LNG.
我们5个人就是最强的，我相信今年 LNG 会夺冠的。
去年的话，就每项都比赛都很想赢，所以我的心态上有点很着急的吧。今年的话，做好我自己，然后这样才能帮助到队友的话。
之前就觉得他是一个非常厉害的选手，打了之后就还是觉得他是一个非常厉害的选手吧。
Scout， 我很熟悉你，你应该会了解我。我们一起打精彩的比赛吧。
赢下他们肯定是会很开心的，疫情赢下来吧。职业生涯到现在就总是在跟Skarner打比赛，很难就是把有趣联系在一起。
另一方都会带着 LPL 的那一份走下去。
感觉就是比较可惜吧，就是跟朋友们就是必须要回家一个。
我们在 AK 的时候遇到很多次，我们这次会走到很远。
石涛仔，我们也是老对手，不管这次结果如何，我们给大家展现一场精彩的比赛。
我们会一步一步地走向决赛，在这个过程当中，任何人都不能阻止我们。
Fans d'Esports du monde entier, bienvenue à l'Adidas Arena à Paris.
Bonjour, salut, bienvenue, and welcome to World's Quarterfinals here in Paris. It is our honor to present to you Weibo Gaming versus LNG. I'm Medic, I'm joined by Kobe and by Vedius on the desk today for what is likely to be a very exciting and hopefully close series.
We would expect it to go the full maximum amount of games because even though LNG did get the 3-0 in regional finals, the previous 4 series of that, you get max games here, and these teams know each other so incredibly well. This year being 8-8, I am so excited for them to slug it out on the world stage here because your whole year doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're 8-8 coming into this. What matters is who wins at Worlds. Everyone is looking at this match.
It's a battle of brothers, rivals, allies, and now enemies as they put their dreams on the line to fight for a spot in the semifinals. Our first quarterfinal matchup, and as you gentlemen rightly said, it's guaranteed to be a banger as 2 LPL teams join us on the rift today. We're excited to see what they bring in the meta. I'm curious as to how things have evolved.
And it's specifically these two teams' own metas because they know each other so well that there is oftentimes Lucian target bans for Xiahu, which you wouldn't apply to any other team here at Worlds, but 7 of the last 8 games that they played, Weibo banned it out, and guess what? The one game that they let it through, Xiahu was able to pick it, and he beat LNG with it, so we'll see if they actually retain that priority, because both of the Lucian games that Xiahu played so far at Worlds versus other teams, they did lose so far.
LNG have only yet played on the red side here at Worlds, banning away the Yone and the Aurora. No real surprises there. Rumble and Nico taken away by Weibo to kick us off. We'll see if LNG do give that respect over to Xiahu once again and remove the Lucian as their final ban.
Both the Ziggs and the Ashe are available. Both champions that we've seen, both AD carries highly valued. The question is, what will the final ban be here for Weibo? The Silas. Jack was talking about it on the desk. We were talking about it coming into today's series. How priority will it be? They don't want to give that option to Scout. Now, again, Ashe, Skarner, Ziggs, all big priority picks that are available right now for both sides.
And they go with the Ezreal ban that both of them have used very successfully as well. So first pick priority here in game number 1 will tell a lot for Weibo. Tarzan has definitely had a preference for the Skarner, as have many other junglers.
I mean, Tarzan also hasn't lost on the Skarner at Worlds. 100% win rate on it in the 3 games he's played. It is the only champion he's played more than once here at Worlds 2024. So wouldn't be surprised at all if this is pick 1 for Weibo. They lock it in, and now LNG, they'll have known this is going to happen. They'll have known that the Skarner is just such a high commodity that it has to be picked up early. Where are they going with their next couple of picks?
I mean, it wouldn't be an LPL game if we didn't get a high priority Renekton. Gentlemen, the hover came through from LNG, but right now Zika is hovering the Jax, something that we have seen be very prevalent in the meta. It was Zeus that showed us the Gragas counter here at the World Championship. Let's see what has been prepared as the Ahri is going to be the lock-in for Scout. Will they pair this alongside the Vi, knowing that a Morgana is unlikely to come through from the side of Weibo?
Usually kind of like the guaranteed combo there. Now, some of these hovers are also interesting, though, because I feel like LNG, even though they only showed 4 games so far at Worlds, they really were cooking in a lot of them. You know, the Camille that was flashed over there, their combination with the Galio, but it's going to be nothing spicy in this game so far. As you mentioned, Vedius, it is very straightforward, generalist blind picks here for both solo lanes.
It does seem a little odd to me not to just pick the Vi there, where you already know the Skarner's locked in. You can save the Renekton for R3, and if you did have a counter pick for something Weibo might, you know, bring out here, it would make more sense to save that for your 3rd pick.
I think they just really proud the Renekton here, and they're like, fine if Breathe goes to the Cassante or something into it. So we'll see if there's any extra spice there. But the Ashe also, so Ashe to me, for Weibo, is a bigger pick, not just because of bottom lane, but because they have often paired the Ashe with Tarzan's Nidalee. And I love a good Tarzan Nidalee. Your hawk shot and your pushing lane that you kind of guarantee with the Ashe sometimes. It doesn't mean it's necessarily guaranteed. It's actually very far from guaranteed because they also lock in another AP threat here, the Orianna. And so the Nidalee prow even drops further. But
it would have to move the Skarner to top lane as well, which there's, or even support. There's a few things that are stopping the Nidalee. I know we're all excited for it. It was one of Tarzan's best picks, especially against LNG. He can really rule the map on it, but we will see if that's locked in. Instead, for LNG, they are going to go for Nocturne here. Nocturne, Ahri very good at diving the back line.
Well, so in particular, Vi is very good at locking down champions that have a lot of mobility. Nocturne thrives on champions with low mobility in the sense that there's no way that Orianna is getting away from the Nocturne, and as you rightly said, Ahri an easy follow-up. The Braum banned away to, you know, an effective champion at anti-dive, likely looking at something like a Rell in terms of high priority here, as the Kai'Sa now taken away from GALA.
Yeah, LNG are showing pretty deep dive right now, and Weibo have a very solid, structured team fight here, so trying to take out any of those extra tools makes a lot of sense. GALA, of course, the premier Kai'Sa player.
LNG could consider a misfortune ban here when you kind of look at the Wombo combo. No, instead, they're taking the Jax away from Breathe. He showcased it a few times here at the World Championship, and they said that's not something we want to have to deal with, especially on the side lane. What direction will Weibo go? I imagine they're going to continue to pinch that pool, maybe remove the Jhin as a potential pick option, long-range follow-up threat with the dive.
I actually wouldn't mind a Poppy here from Weibo in support. Like, you, obviously the Nocturne's going to get on the backline anyway, but you can stop the Ahri, you can stop the Renekton from following up onto your AD carry.
Chris, Poppy has definitely been quite good, especially his ganks when he's roaming around towards mid, too.
Ooh, the GALA Tristana being the hover, of course. Always dangerous to talk about the hovers because you're seeing all the different champions that GALA's very confident on. But yeah, I think Jhin does make a lot of sense in the context of this comp, just as easy follow-up, because any CC that lands, it's so easy for the Deadly Flourish to then provide that additional peel. Also gives you great siege thanks to the ultimate available. But LNG have built themselves a pretty straightforward dive composition. Great at attacking side lanes. They'll likely round this out with either a Leona or a Rell to just give them that extra teamfight oomph. Weibo now need to find, I imagine, some disengaged tools. Maybe a Renata could be an option to help act as the anti-dive.
True.
They could also consider a Leona for themselves, and I think Gnar makes a lot of sense just to facilitate their already great team fighting comp.
Yeah, I mean, they're just showing very, very versatile team fight here for Weibo. A lot of very nice scaling for them. And a couple of those like defensive supports that you mentioned, possibilities here, but it is kind of blind, so you are a little bit worried about the answer.
Rell is...
Steal away the Rell from that big engage.
She's a good support. She can also disengage. She can jump onto the backline with the Magnet Storm, kind of sacrifice herself to make sure that your carries have a little bit more time. Rakan does a similar thing, but gives you a better ball delivery system in my eyes, with him jumping in, following up an initial engage. You get the ball in there, and then it's very easy to land a shockwave when multiple players are charmed up.
This meta has proven to be very side lane driven. And I think that the problem with Orianna in the meta is that she struggles to play on side lanes. What I think Rakan offers is that additional side lane support, given that you're going to be looking to roam more. Now, Ashe, as an independent AD carry, is fairly strong in an isolated 1v2 or even 1v1, but you've got to be careful of that lack of mobility, specifically against the Nocturne. So Crisp's positioning on the map is going to be crucial, as Weiwei is going to be looking to catch off those targets.
And Crisp is one of the most, let's say, like fearless with positioning. Very, very aggressive with positioning. Also very aggressive with summoner spells, you know. Yeah. He's one to like spend multiple summoner spells in lane just to get lane prio to try and play with two. So very excited for this one. Game number 1 tells a lot for the full best of 5 and the direction that our just single best of meta will go.
It seems that both teams are taking a very traditional approach to the draft, nothing too crazy, perhaps testing the waters for game 1. We'll see what level they deliver, but as you both have already highlighted for us, throughout the year it has been incredibly close between these two organizations. Throughout the years, there have been roster swaps. People have played on LNG. They played for Weibo just last year. They've swapped junglers between the two. Like, there's so much history and story between these two teams that, as they said in the promo, let's have a good match. That's what we're all here for. And let's get onto the rift for game 1.
Eight and 8 between these teams throughout the year. Last year, Weibo made it all the way to the World's Finals, where LNG came up short, getting eliminated in this very stage by T1. Here, LNG look across against a very familiar opposition, some obviously more familiar than others. Tarzan was with them there last year, liked a couple of years ago. But Weibo, again, it feels like a run of mojo. Similarly to playoffs, they ran through based off just their ability to be the underdog. And here we'll see if they can continue that at Worlds 2024. Now, everyone at home, remember you can log into a Riot account on LoLesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds icons, emotes, capsules, skins. So make sure you are logging in to LoLesports.com.
The matchup I'm really excited for is the rematch once again of Xiahu versus Scout. Medic, you were talking to me about it so extensively coming into this series about how much these two rivals have met in the mid lane, the record being incredibly close as well.
112 matchups between the two of them across the years. Obviously, Xiahu used to be on RNG, Scout used to be EDG's main man, so they go all the way back in the LPL. It is 58-54 in favor of Xiahu. Scout can get that closer here, but he would still be one game behind even if LNG 3-0 the series.
And here we're going to see Weibo move in for the lane swap, take over the jungle, make sure that there is going to be no steal away from the quote-unquote weak side jungle camps. So nicely done there. They guarantee that Tarzan will be able to get all three on the side of the red quadrant, and they chase them off. Meanwhile, you get the mirror, Weiwei right into the other side and starts clearing the opposite jungle.
Good force out there by Crisp, just making Scout take a little bit of his health and take the long way around. Zuka's going to come across to bolster the defense on this mid lane tower, make sure that Scout can get some XP, and obviously the Renekton will be very happy to soak up any XP he can acquire there as well.
The slow push coming in from GALA and Hung in the bot lane as Tarzan splits the map. The question is, Breathe now hitting level 2. When is he looking to TP towards the bot side? For now, he's sticking around the top lane. The mid wave, Zika still yet to reach that level 2 mark.
It's actually a really interesting switch from LNG because usually what you'll see is the support will go and cover, right? Crisp is now coming across. Zuka's going to go down towards the bottom side, but they're leaving a lot of time with that top lane tower free for Weibo.
Yeah, the big thing to watch is can Chris get under the turret, because they can teleport in Breathe level 2. Chris would want to try and defend under tower, but Weiwei's trying to block.
He only has the Gleaming Quill in the grand entrance right now, no Battle Dance, so none of that shielding from the Rakan. Does have the heal and the flash. Will try and make his way towards this turret, but they've already lost one plate.
Oh, look, they're rotating Tarzan as well, so there's going to be 3 members here.
Tarzan's on his way. Breathe in good. Wallop triple stun with the Mega Gnar. LNG thinking about the dive. Breathe dives back in. The damage going down onto Crisp as he's able to dash away. Suppressed on GALA will lock him up under the tower. We've got to pause. We got to pause. Everything goes sepia as Crisp goes down.
3 minutes in, and already we find ourselves with a pause. I mean, the idea there from the bot lane of Weibo, the bot lane of Weibo, Breathe with a great TP, lands the connects the wallop, but the focus onto Crisp. It's such a dangerous thing with the amount of mobility that he has available. He has the flash, he has the heal, he's able to create that space between him and the opposition. He still ends up dropping, but I feel like that the fact that Weibo, they should be in a position to outplay this given the HP difference that I'm seeing on my screen right now.
GALA's 200 HP under tower. Like, that AD carry is gone for if we see the game continuing from here.
Yeah, just at our first taste of action in this game, immediately, I mean, it could have been way worse for LNG because, as you say, it was actually Weiwei with the Nocturne Q that was able to snipe Crisp as Crisp was able to battle dance away and get under tower. They did end up getting that, but yeah, I think GALA will be very short to follow here, and it's all about the kind of trail on the long play here, because usually you're expecting the support level 2 and then the top laner teleports in level 2 and them trying to defend 2v4 on the dive. But because Tarzan actually recalled, and Tarzan here only opted for 3 camps.
Yeah.
So jungle is skipping camps to come down here to 3v4 and try and really win this attempted dive is the wrinkle that Weibo threw in. And I think it is a good one. It would have been even more successful, of course, if Chris had barely been able to squeeze by and avoid that Nocturne Q, but very excited to see what happens in the remainder of this play.
It's one of those things you have to do if a team knows you so well as well, right? They'd be like, well, every time we played this in the past, Tarzan's just gone and done his second set of camps, so now we can go for that 4v2 dive on the bottom side. It is an LNG pause, by the way. We are finding out exactly why that has occurred, and we will tell you that as soon as possible. A peripheral issue for one of the LNG players is what I have just been informed.
Yeah, now it's quite an important time to have a functioning peripheral, I would say.
It's true,
yeah. The awkward part for LNG is, I mean, you guys can't see it, but we can. The HP bars for both GALA and Zika are not great right now. Both level 2 as well, versus the level 3 of Tarzan and Breathe. I think Breathe is also about to lose his Mega Gnar, which means that he's also in a position to then start chipping away at those HP bars as well. So I think that Weibo, even though they initially lost Crisp, there's a lot to be gained here for Weibo to punish the dive from LNG.
I love that, Vedius, because even the bigger part that they're going to gain isn't just this dive defense. They've got the Ashe pushing on the extra lane on top side. So regardless, they're getting resources out of all 3 lanes. Whereas LNG, of course, you know, with 4 people diving on bottom side, they're only getting resources on 2 of the lanes. So no matter what happens when we come out of this pause, I think that Weibo are going to be, you know, hugely the ones benefiting.
I agree with you, but I won't say no matter what, because what if LNG just get 3 kills and no one dies? I feel like they'll be pretty happy with that situation. I do see the ready checks coming out in chat, so hopefully we'll be jumping back on into the game in just a second. Just to inform everyone at home, there's a peripheral issue for LNG. Currently, LNG started to dive under the bot lane tower. 3 members of Weibo have responded. We have seen a Crisp fall, but 2 members of LNG are very low. So we're expecting that Breathe and Tarzan may be able to get a couple kills in recompense.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a second, Medic. You get ready, because you know we're going to get straight back into the action in no time. But again, to set the scene, as you rightly said, Crisp is the first to fall. He ended up using all of his summoner spells, but both Tarzan and Breathe, full HP. The unpause is coming through, so Medic, take it away.
Well, the dive continues to happen. GALA is going to fall. We can't quite see it on our screens as of yet, but we'll jump back down into the bot lane. Zuka's very low as well. He goes down. It's 2 for Weibo so far. Weiwei trying to trade back onto Tarzan. Hung takes the kill. Breathe able to get back to the safety of the tower, but in the end, it's a 2 for 2.
And again, a 2 for 2 is great news for Weibo there. You're going to see the immediate teleport out from Zuka up to the top side after dying, but it's so nice here because Light was up at the tower. Ashe was able to get that extra lane here. And now he can just continue to harass and bully. Look at all this extra damage.
Crucially, the timing of the dive is very important as well, because Kobe was talking earlier about how with the bot lane setup, let's go back to this replay. So the TP comes through, a really nice stun comes through from Breathe, and then the attention turns onto Crisp. I like this focus from LNG. The problem is, look at 2 tower shots onto Zuka. They get the snipe onto Crisp, but now with the mini Gnar, Breathe and Tarzan can look for the re-engage. Now, you could argue this is a bit of an overcommitment, because at this point, you know, they could disengage, they could prioritize getting the bot farm, but hell, you know what? The kills go over to Hung and Weiwei, which are not the worst targets in the world for Weibo.
And guess what? Your extra 2 levels on Breathe are going to be massive for Weibo. Let's remind you of the regionals, where Zika actually really outperformed Breathe. You know, Zika had an amazing regionals in that 304 LNG, but setting up Breathe here was such a big experience advantage, and especially on a Gnar that is going to scale really nicely into side lanes and to be able to team fight quite well with this Weibo comp. I just think the experience gain here for Weibo is going to be massive.
And Zuka's just so screwed. He doesn't even have flash. He's level 2, 5 minutes into the game with 2 CS. He is going to be able to get to the tower now. I say that. Light and Tarzan immediately stop him. What are you going to do? This is a very sad Crocodilian, and he's falling for the first time this game. It is huge, second time, in fact, as LNG just can't find a way to get that Croc out of deep water.
Weibo are dominating in this early game. They will zone Breathe away from the bot tower. You will be denied those farms, but it doesn't matter. On the top side of the map, Weibo is finding advantages. Crucially, though, let's keep track of the gold. The advantages are really being built between the top laners. Sure, Zuka is extremely far behind, but GALA getting those plates, still keeping him even in gold alongside Light.
And you also look towards the mid lane, which was, you know, one of our focused matchups here with so much history between Xiahu and Scout. And Xiahu on the Orianna is absolutely pumping here. Yep. Constant pressure in mid lane, being able to shove in these waves. Very, very nice for an Orianna, and especially Weibo with the amount of scaling options that they do have.
He's having a whale of time in the mid lane right now. He's got those Ionian boots of lucidity as well. Looks like LNG are going to move up towards the grub. We see the reset coming out from GALA. Hung just walking his way up through the mid lane as well. Both these teams do like to fight around these grubs. We saw it in the LPL and a little bit here at World so far. And with Light being in the bot lane and only just starting to move up, I feel at least the first couple of these are going in LNG's pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the LNG have too much of a numbers advantage. The waves are too good, but they're actually pulling off them. They've gotten the first grub. Breathe is about 50% HP.
Breathe is getting locked up here, doesn't have time to flash away. LNG collapse and find a kill on the Gnar.
A great engage from Hung. The flash stun into the stacked wave means that he's going to lose that entire farm. And LNG find another kill. They've guaranteed numbers advantage, but now Light has made his way up. He's so close to level 6.
Second grub's definitely going to go over to LNG. Hex flash forward by Hong, trying to get onto Tarzan, who'll stun him against the wall. The dive in with a grand entrance. Zika trying to heal himself back up in the middle of the fight. GALA joining in as well. The knockback on Hong towards the top side, but it's not going to be enough from Weibo so far, and now Light is overextended. Zuka slicing and dicing his way through. The charm connects and Light is down alongside him. Tarzan falls. LNG absolutely trouncing Weibo at the grubs.
Yeah, LNG are fighting their way out of a rough early game, and they're not done.
Scout with another charm, this time onto Crispy, get caught up with that deadly flourish. And LNG will be able to walk out. 2 grubs to them and 2 kills to boot.
So hugely beneficial for LNG. As you said, Hung didn't hesitate, went straight for Breathe after that pick, gaining so much. I mean, they didn't clean all of the grubs, but still grabbing 2 out of the first pack is quite nice.
I am shocked that Weibo still tried to fight that.
Are you ready? It's Weibo.
No, I'm not. We did kind of expect this. They love to fight for these grubs, and even at a numbers disadvantage, look, they try to force this, and LNG rightly attack the weak side. There's only 2 members. They don't actually do that much damage initially. Flash away comes in from Weiwei. Hong then forced to disengage, but then this overstep. You noticed it in the fight, Medic. We have to highlight it again.
As well.
Easy collapse comes in from LNG. Scout with a beautiful charm connect. And it means that LNG find that initial kill, and they get enough grubs. That's what matters.
Gonna go a long way towards evening up those experience advantages that Weibo had been able to manufacture for themselves in the opener of the game. I mean, it's still rough for Zika.
Zika's going to struggle, I think, for a while, but GALA has started to even out the gold, at least, that he was falling behind. Like, he just got his 200th kill on the world stage with that kill in this game. He's the 23rd player to do that.
Yeah, and actually, Light here is also level 7 now, so maybe not going to do a lot for the experience. Weibo, see if they can still use those advantages, because they are pushing in both top lane and bottom lane here with Light, with Breathe, and Tarzan takes that opportunity to go for some jungle invades here, trying to put that Nocturne a little bit further behind.
I think part of the risk now for Weibo, though, is that Weiwei is level 6. That paranoia is a looming threat at any moment, right? If you go for a dive, not only will Weiwei be able to join the battle, but also you have to deal with the darkness that comes out. So we'll see how aggressive Weibo want to be. When Tarzan gets the upper hand over any jungler, he loves to go in for these invades.
I will say also, since Weiwei is level 6 on Nocturne, Light used both summoners in the last fight, walking up to grubs. So he could easily get Nocturne ulted. They have to back off here. Good positioning from the Weibo bottom lane. They know they are very vulnerable, and Nocturne with ult ready would just love an Ashe target.
Breathe, finds an engage on Zuka.
Easy enough, Breathe just 1v1s him. We talked about how it would be a struggle for Zuka. Well, we see it coming up here for Breathe.
That's a lane swap diff right there, if I've ever seen one, and Breathe capitalizes on it. See if the rest of LNG can try and get...
There's the darkness. Immediately they jump in with the paranoia. Hung's on the flank as well. They wait for the flash. Shadowing strike. The chase continues. And Xiahu is down. Now the curtains open. And maybe we'll close on Weibo in this game 1. LNG have been winning every fight so far. Weibo trying to get away. Crisp with a good knock-up. The chase continues as Hung looks for another shadowing strike. But he's the one turned onto by Weibo. Magnus Storm the charm again onto Light, but no follow-up for LNG. One back in the pocket for Weibo, and they'll look for more as Weiwei has no flash. But it looks like in the end, both teams will disengage.
Yeah, LNG, they actually opted to go for the kills there instead of Dragon. They left the Dragon with about 700 HP, so Tarzan was able to pick up that Dragon. And while they did chase down 1 kill, it's still 1 back for Weibo in the aftermath as well. So Weibo actually coming out with Dragon +1.
You'll see the engage come through. Keep your eyes on Weiwei. He spots out Xiahu, Hung with the Hex Flash over the wall to help lock him down, Scout with the ulti to help follow up, and this is the idea behind the composition, right? Great single target lockdown, and Weibo say, okay, Xiahu, good luck, we're just going to get the Dragon and we'll take that trade. But then LNG overextend, and ultimately, this is the beauty of this matchup. Both of these teams are eager to fight. They're eager to get something back after they lose something, and it results in these chaotic situations where we're 5 to 6 in kills 11 minutes in.
It's also first game of our quarterfinal stage. You know, we moved to Paris, there's excitement in the air, and they are scrapping. LNG, of course, in that chase, the big downfall was splitting up and having 2 on each side of the big wall there. So an overstep indeed, Vedius.
Credit to Weiwei. So far, he's been involved in every single kill that LNG have been able to find on the map. He's gotten a small gold advantage, but Tarzan's been able to close that gap as he's going to secure the last grub. It looks like we're not going to be getting full grubs this game.
I think LNG do need to try and look for a play here with Weiwei and Scout. Both of them kind of peaking right now. Once you get your Stride Breaker plus your Ludens complete, the Nocturne Ori combo is very, very dangerous. You pointed out how they were able to take down Xiahu at the Dragon fight, and Xiahu actually flashed there too. So the Orianna is definitely a repeat target for LNG. They want to keep on scrapping, get more and more kills here in the mid game so they can actually use that gold.
We see Light throwing out the ultimate there as well. GALA had no cleanse, and around the corner, Crisp was waiting to collapse. That Enchanted Crystal Arrow, only about 90 seconds cooldown at this point, so assuming there's no objective up for the next 90 seconds, doesn't really matter if you throw it out like that. As you can see, Rift Herald in exactly a minute 30, so they will have that back up for the next team fight.
The downside for LNG is that Zika is just useless in this game. He has been put so far behind. In terms of gold, you can see he's only about 500 down, but the bigger problem is the experience disadvantage. A full 2 levels down is going to be massive as we get closer to, in particular, those level 13s where you have 2 skills maxed out and these mid-game team fights.
And Vedius, this hits perfectly on a conversation that people were having after the regional finals where Weibo did not get much time at all to prepare for their full best of 5 versus LNG, so they made sure to prepare this time around with the lane swap and actually making such a big difference here with the experience advantage. So I guess, you know, everyone who was talking about that conversation after regionals, you know, does look quite a bit different when you have a lot more time to focus on a single opponent here.
I think the question always was, how big a grain of salt does that series need to be taken with, right? And it seems like it's a bit more than a pinch, but less than a mountain, as that's a very big grain of salt, a mountain. That's, yeah, very large.
I mean, it's such a fascinating history where in the best of 5s and
looking for breathe here. We'll jump away, then flash away from the fear. The Stride Breaker slow is on him, but the collapse begins from Weibo, and LNG will back away.
The problem is that ulti will now not be available for Herald or Dragon. Weibo, looking at the minimap, Xiahu is Xiahu is going bot lane to match Zika. He does have the TP available. And again, we've already learned this from the Grubs. If you are new to these teams, they're eager to fight for these objectives, and both junglers have set their sights on it.
Xiahu does have that TP coming and catching the wave in the bot side. Zika no TP on that Renekton, so we'd have to run all the way across. LNG giving up area, giving up ground in this river right now, knowing they can't really take the fight because it could become a 5v4.
Yeah, and LNG generally more methodical with their play too, so this does kind of make sense. You know, Dragon coming up in 25 seconds as well. I mean, Hung is still going to like fish around, and they do have Scout coming over towards his control ward, but since you see Nocturne already committing to bottom, it does seem to be the trade. And I do think that is the more like LNG style play. Get the tower gold down here, really try and play off of the cross-map play.
It's a guaranteed tower and likely the Drake in exchange for a possible tower from the Rift Herald charge. Obviously, mid lane tower has been seen to have a little bit more value than a bot tier 1, but we'll see how well Weibo actually use that Rift Herald later on.
And the guaranteed tower, they definitely need that gold. You mentioned, you know, Renekton can use every little bit he can get, but looks like Tarzan coming down here to check you on Dragon. Ashe Arrow is available, by the way, so you really do have to respect it. Once Weibo get vision.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with LNG is they've actually overstacked on the top side of the map to try and protect that tier 1. While they were able to secure the first tower of the game, which gave a big influx of gold over to Zika, you're now just abandoning this Dragon as well, allowing Weibo to go 2 dragons up. They've been... Oh, Crisp.
Crisp looking for that backline, going in with the quickness. Is feared, caught with the deadly flourish as well, but can just walk out. It's to safety. We talked about Crisp's creativeness from time to time, and I think we saw it there.
And when you do see that, and oftentimes you'll see Crisp either just get chunked out or sometimes get caught out altogether, you have to remember that he's going really deep there to get some of this deep vision. And oftentimes he does go by himself, so it's kind of risky. But, you know, with the rest of the team there, that one didn't have a lot of risk to it. We mentioned the Ashe Arrow is ready. There's a lot of follow-up ready. And so maybe that extra vision deep through the jungle will pay off later, because Weibo, with the comp that they've drafted this time around, you got to believe they are so confident in their 5-on-5 as we progress dealing with LNG, who are a lot pick-oriented. You know, some very focused damage on LNG. That's why the Weibo game plan, I think, was so well thought out.
They shocked us with it. Weibo!
Weibo! Surprise!
The focus for both teams now becomes on these adder towers. With the Herald available for Weibo, they have plenty of options. It looks like they're setting their sights on the top line, which makes a lot of sense to me given its HP. They also have the ability to push through top and either commit the Herald top to play for a tier 2, or bring that pressure from top down into mid and then try and use it there. Meanwhile, Zika is keeping that push down on towards the bot side of the map. Breathe, while in the 1v1, should be able to win, is conscious of the fact that he's playing on the weak side, so he has to be defensive. A nice charm comes through from Scout.
TP behind as well as LNG looking for the flank here. Hong's on his way across. You can see GALA trying to work his way across here as well. Zika with that TP, counter TP used. LNG will start to back away. They see the reinforcements arriving for Weibo, and in the end, just a TP for TP exchange.
Breathe again. Got to be a little bit careful here. Is going to turn mini soon. When he turns mini, would be the opportunity, but I don't think they've forgotten Zika was on the top side, and so just going to be that rotation over towards mid.
I like the adaptation here from Weibo. LNG committed a TP to really not any effect, and Weibo are able to hold that top side of the map while also being able to put pressure down in mid. Tarzan now may have caught out Zika.
Edge of it stop coming out. There's the Impale as well. Zika has to try and slice his way out. Will burn the flash as well. The chase could have continued from Weibo.
But that's likely going to be a guaranteed top tower now, so they got good damage down onto mid lane. They'll eventually get that top tower, and once again, Zika is denied. Crucially, Scout is keeping the push in towards bot. Xiahu is going to go and match that, but the rest of LNG are there to support him.
Yeah, LNG have to keep trying to play split.
Arrow. Oh, this could bait. Xiahu might go a little bit too far because the arrow's hit, but the defenses are here for LNG. In the end, Xiahu didn't overextend. Charm going down as well. It was a good arrow from Light, but really not much occurring from it.
The Merc Tread's offering a lot of value there in that situation.
Still some worries here for LNG as they try and scramble, they try and make some cross map, they try and make some split plays, constantly looking for areas that they can pick people off with. But Weibo moving up here pretty methodically themselves. You see opposite side of the jungle taken over, and the flash that was blown on Zika will have huge repercussions for the side laning potential for the next 5 minutes of this game. Already Breathe had been set up for success in this game. Already he had made his way very early on to the Trinity Force, and if you give him flash advantage, it does become very difficult for LNG, and LNG have to play off of like this Nocturne threat for all of their side lane plays, and you have to look for the possibilities of those trailing split push. The only problem for LNG is that they also don't have teleports to pull those off with, so you have to commit a lot of resources when you're looking for one of those plays.
And we talked about it a little bit in draft, right? Orianna isn't the best in a split push position, especially when you have something like the Nocturne that can jump on you. But because Xiahu knows Breathe can survive in a 2v1 for long enough, he can just play further back. He doesn't have to be applying too much pressure on the map because he knows Breathe is going to do that for him on the top side.
One of the things we talked about was Crisp's mobility on the Rakan, and you'll notice it again on the minimap, trying to clear out this bot side vision. While there is still very deep ward coverage from LNG, it provides a bit of extra safety. Xiahu, though, choosing not to overextend, whereas Scout with full confidence, knowing he sees the entire Weibo's bot side jungle, constantly catching that wave, pushing in, and keeping this pressure up, ready to contest the third dragon.
That's very much what we expected between these two teams. The LPL number 3 and number 4 seed, 8 and 8 across the course of the year against each other, and it's always close. Like, you can never really tell who's going to win. I think coming into this series, most people were saying LNG's world form is slightly better, but we haven't seen them play in 12 days. They went 4-0 and just qualified to the quarterfinals. Weibo have given us a little bit more tape, but these two teams have battled so many times across the course of the year. I think everyone knew it was likely to be a 50-50.
I like what Weibo are doing right now. You know, they're utilizing that Breathe advantage on top side to get chunks on tower and control the jungle between them and mid lane. You saw just Chris earlier on your screen keeping these wards up here so they can continue to control the rotation path.
The tiniest window where Zuka's TP will be up and Breathes will not. Scout's about to go back to base. we do have the Hex Gates to speed his passage back towards the river, but he might go towards the top side. They have a control ward around that red. You could look for a fight against Breathe and give up the third Drake, but it is sole point for Weibo if you do that.
And I really want to highlight Light. Light has such great potential in this game, and he's been so good for Weibo all summer long. He's got 2 items here with his Phantom Dancer on top of the Kraken Slayer. Pretty big advantage versus the Jhin that's just on the last Whisper and pieces. So just the Static Shiv. I mean, we've seen some Static Shivs do work at Worlds. Jackie Love definitely kind of inspiring people with that one, but I think it would have to be a bit of a dream for LNG if they could actually pull a fight like that off, because Weibo are set up so nicely here. Double control wards, controlling the entry. Such a very solid front line for them to play off of, and they can just group on Dragon, no problem.
LNG looking for an engage. Scout on the flank is still being tracked. Dragon will quickly reset. Zika continuing to push in the top side of the map, has the TP available.
Xiahu just putting the ball down. They go in with the arrow immediately. They dive onto Hung, and he is down. Breed looks for more, but GALA has to flash the wall, but Chris can continue to chase. He gets the blast cone. GALA knocked back. Wallop just short. The paranoia out from Weiwei. So he tries to buy a second for his AD carry to escape. Scout on the flank doesn't hit the charm, but Xiahu falls to the curtain call. Now Scout getting chased down towards the bottom side of the map. Breathe still going in, needs a couple more autos, can't quite get them. Weiwei turns his attention across to the walls, but really he's just looking for a way back to the mid lane. The chase continues. Light goes in, flash impale. TP behind us now. Weibo might be flanked. GALA looking for a little bit more. Scout coming back in with the teleport of his own. Zuka onto the back line. Targets Light first. Light flashes away. Zuka flash follows him. And now Breathes running to the hills. The engage onto Tarzan. LNG somehow turn the fight around.
LNG grabbing the extra kills, and are they going to head towards mid lane tower? They only have 1 minion, so hovering around Baron. I mean, they don't have great Baron damage. It's an exciting couple of kills here, but the objective still went to Weibo, getting themselves to soul points, and you don't have DPS for a big Baron rush, so it's just going to stop at that for LNG.
Weibo overcommitted on the play. They got an initial pick, they had easy access onto the Dragon, but then they decide to chase so deep that LNG could convert it into multiple small skirmishes, where Zuka could then finally find a good TP.
And specifically, I think Xiahu got a little too hype. Xiahu split from the rest of the Weibo members that were chasing, and did not respect the Nocturne turning back around. The original pick, amazing here for Weibo, and then Breathe is able to use the Hex Gate to force GALA's flash and continue to pressure them. But here, Xiahu goes forward into the 2 members, and with Nocturne ult on, you see Breathe back up here, and it actually allowed LNG to have multiple members flanking. That Nocturne ultimate power there actually causing Weibo a bit of trouble, and then you saw the teleports coming back out, and they chain an extra couple.
And Zuka, he might be weak, but if you've got nothing left, he's just going to run you down. Having free access to push out that top side allowed him to secure Starak, giving him that additional durability and helping LNG clean up the fight.
That's the key right there, Betty. No longer weak after you get that extra gold on the top side, allowing him to get to his 2-item power spike and kind of run through here. So we're keeping it exciting. Gold lead back the way of LNG, but still the objectives for Weibo.
Which is crazy. Yeah. Because based on how this game has been going, you should... arrow!
Arrow onto Hung once again, doesn't have the flash to escape, charmed up, knocked into the wall, Weiwei dives on the back line. The paranoia is doing so much work, and in the face of darkness, there is no light! Scout gets the kill, it's a double for him, double impale coming out, but Scout still has 2 charges of the Spirit Boss. Tarzan gets 1 in response. LNG trying to turn this fight in their favors, and they'll do exactly that! So far, it's a 3-for-1 exchange. Xiahu and Breathe trying to do everything they can. No flash for the Gnar, but he does have that ultimate in a second. He's going to go mega and try to chase down Hung. Shadowing strike into the crash down. Breathe won't get anything more out of the battle.
This is the brawl we expected from the brothers of the LPL. Scout is such a phenomenal Ahri player, finding the angle onto the backside. You'll notice the engage comes through from Weibo. They think that they've caught out Hung. He's not allowed to be here. The knockup comes through. There's the Ashe arrow. Keep track of Scout, though, on the right side, using the coverage of the darkness. Forces Light into an awkward position. He gets chunked out by Weiwei. And then the rest of the fight ends up Tarzan trying to salvage it.
Also, on the mini-map, you'll see Zika comes up first. The Renekton is able to rotate over first. Because of that Nocturne ultimate that you mentioned, when the lights were turned out, there was no teleport from Breathe early, and so then you have to wait the whole duration of that Nocturne ultimate. He could not join with his teleport, and the Gnar, who had been a very big factor, actually walks over, and everybody's already dead.
The big thing for Weibo, though, is LNG have kind of won the last 2 fights. They're still only 2,000 gold ahead. They haven't picked up a Baron. They haven't even taken the mid-tier 1. Weibo are on sole point. All it takes for Weibo is one good fight and you feel like the game's over. For LNG, all the fighting seems to be happening a little bit mismatched with when you can actually take these objectives, or they're losing a couple too many men to be actually able to take anything off the back of it.
The problem for Weibo is that they can't find these good fights. So far, they haven't really been able to find that big wombo combo engage. They're finding picks here and there, but once you commit all of your damage onto a single target, you kind of run out of steam very quickly, and in the re-engage and the skirmishes, LNG really do thrive. Look at the bottom of your screen. The Renekton, who is 2 levels down, 600 gold down, pretty much the entire game, is now up. He's still only, well, he's a level behind now, but it's much better than what it was. And Scout is 4-0-4 on the Ahri.
The Baron is very dark for LNG, though, here. Weibo, see how many resources they can get out of them. There's still a Scryers available on GALA. So LNG just going to push mid and then rotate over to this dragon 7 seconds away from the Hextech Soul arrival. And Weibo, they're just going to force on Baron instead. They will trade away one dragon. They don't want the soul right now. They'll take the pushing power.
I mean, they're not even going to lose the dragon, because LNG are trying to take the fight around the Baron, but that Baron's going to be gone before they can really begin it. The paranoia comes out. TP is being invested as well by LNG. Quickness. The charm going on to Weiwei as well as he dived in with that paranoia, but Ishtar's impact is enough to get Tarzan out. LNG might turn now towards the dragon, but they wanted to fight first.
What are LNG doing? The Baron was dark for so long, and then they, as you say, they didn't even finish the dragon that they were on. Now they're going to rotate over to it, but with the Baron-empowered recalls, look at the tempo available to Weibo. They have both solo laners pushing top. The tower's going to die while you're now picking up your dragon, and Weibo are going to push this one through.
Zika has the teleport. He'll stay in the pit and can base, but could teleport if that push continued for Weibo on the top side. They'll just take the tier 2. They'll get the gold back in their favor, and with this Red Bull Baron power play already pressing towards that 3,000 mark, Weibo have so much gold standing on the map. A tier 2 in mid lane, a tier 1, tier 2 in bot lane as well. They can take so much away from LNG in the next 2 minutes' time.
Great awareness from Weibo, committing the TP, leveraging the fog of war. Ironically, using the darkness against the Nocturne team to their advantage. Weibo are able to secure the Baron. They concede the dragon for now, but they equalize the gold once more and put themselves in the driving position as they set the sights on the bot tier 1.
All right, LNG, can they find an area to get any sort of pick? Because Weibo's team fight is so structured and so tanky here. Tarzan on triple items on his Skarner with Orianna shields coming through. Like if Weibo just group up and use their Baron to push in, they'll be able to collect, as you say, so much extra gold off the map.
Yeah, for LNG, it almost feels like a twofold play, right? You know, go in with the paranoia, burn light, splash, and then next time you have it up, you can actually get some kills off the back of it. Weibo aren't giving you that twofold play. They're not having anyone isolated in mid lane right now. 5 members pushing strong down towards this bottom side. Crisp just hanging out of the back, making sure they have vision behind them and then can always jump forward with the quickness. Weibo extending their lead. It is only 1,000 gold, but it has swung in their favor over the last couple of minutes.
I mean, this has probably been one of the closest games we've had at Worlds, with the gold so quickly switching back and forth between the two teams. Weibo continuing their siege as Tarzan looks for a pick, but LNG are able to disengage. The arrow connects, but I don't think there's much follow-up here.
It's fine. It's like a 75-second cooldown right now. Just using it to see perhaps if you could catch someone out. Weibo, there's 3 cannon minions in this push.
The siege is working.
The siege is incredible. They'll break open the base of LNG, who are still looking for some sort of flank position. Hung is in the river. He's a mile away. He's basically in Spain with how far he's away from the rest of his team right now, looking for that flank. He's going to be marked, though, by Tarzan, and Hung will realize he doesn't really have a way in here. Weiwei, though, does with the paranoia, diving onto the backline, but there's no damage to follow him up. Zika trying to dive in and get the damage down onto Breathe, who somehow still survives. Zika down! Weibo collapse. It's 4-0 in favor of Weibo.
See what else they can get here. GALA is still alive, but he's got to run for his base right now. He's got 1 bullet and a dream, and I don't think that's going to be enough to fend off Weibo.
That was the big team fight that Weibo was looking for. Tarzan flashes in. GALA runs for his life.
He's just slammed into the wall. The cleanse will do nothing for him at all, apart from perhaps cleanse his mind of this game. Weibo in control. They'll go 1-0 up over LNG.
An incredible back and forth. Great demonstrations from both sides, but it was the Baron call from Weibo that cemented them game one.
Little bit of a revenge here for Weibo for the regional finals. Really like the draft plus lane swap combination.
Very much agree with you. We'll be back in just a few moments with game 2 of this banger series. Don't you dare go anywhere.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good. I just feel so good, good. I just feel so good.
数不清有多少个这样的时刻，闪现向前，焦灼，欢呼，沮丧，再来。没什么比这一刻更好。